I remember that night like it was branded into my memory. It was late, well past midnight, and the house was swallowed by a thick, heavy darkness that even the moonlight couldn't pierce. My parents were out for the evening, a rare anniversary dinner, leaving me to my own devices. I was supposed to be asleep, but the silence of the old house was anything but peaceful. It was a listening silence, the kind that makes the hairs on your arm stand up. Every creak of the floorboards, every groan of the pipes, sounded like a footstep in the hallway. I pulled the covers up to my chin, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination running wild. I was almost 12, too old to be scared of the dark, right? That's when I heard it. Come here. Beta. The voice was faint, a whisper carried on the drafts that snaked through the house. It was my mother's voice, or it sounded like her. But there was something wrong with it. It was thin, stretched, like a recording played on a dying battery. My heart started thumping against my ribs like a trapped bird. My parents weren't supposed to be home for at least another hour. I sat up in bed, straining my ears, listening to the oppressive silence that followed. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe I was half asleep, caught in that weird space between dream and reality. I lay back down, my eyes wide open, staring at the shifting shadows on my ceiling. Come here, Beta. There it was again, louder this time. Closer, it seemed to come from downstairs, near the living room. A cold knot of fear tightened in my stomach. Why would my mom be calling me like that? It didn't make sense. If they were home early, I would have heard the car in the driveway, the jingle of keys, the front door opening. I would have heard their real voices, full and warm. Not this hollow echo. My curiosity, that stupid, reckless bravery of a kid, started to war with my fear. I had to know what was going on. Was it a prank? Was someone in the house? The thought sent a jolt of ice through my veins. Slowly, carefully, I swung my legs over the side of the bed. My feet touched a cold wooden floor, and I flinched. Every nerve in my body was on fire. I crept to my bedroom door, my hand trembling as I reached for the knob. The metal was cold, and I turned it with agonizing slowness, trying not to make a sound. The door swung open with a low groan that sounded like a scream in the dead quiet. The hallway was a tunnel of black, broken only by a faint, pale light spilling from the top of the stairs. It was the dim nightlight we kept plugged in down in the main foyer. I took a breath and stepped out, my bare feet padding silently on the floorboards I knew by heart. I avoided the one that always creaked, a little victory in the midst of my growing terror. As I reached the top of the staircase, I peered down into the darkness below. Nothing. Just the familiar shapes of furniture turned into monstrous silhouettes by the shadows. My ears were ringing with the silence. Maybe I really did dream it. I was about to turn back, to retreat to the safety of my bed, when the whisper slithered up the stairs again. Come here. I have something for you. It was undeniably coming from the end of the downstairs hallway, from the direction of the study. My dad's study. The door was always kept closed, especially at night. A shiver traced its way down my spine. The voice was wrong. It was my mother's voice, but it was layered with something else. Something dry and rasping, like leaves skittering across pavement. My rational mind screamed at me to run, to lock myself in my room and hide under the covers until morning. But my feet had a mind of their own. They carried me down the stairs, one step at a time, my hand gripping the banister so tightly my knuckles were white. When I reached the bottom, the air was colder. A strange smell hung in the air, something musty and sweet, like old, forgotten flowers and damp earth. It was coming from the study. The door was ajar, just a sliver. A vertical line of absolute blackness in the dim hall. The whisper came from behind that door, a soft, coaxing murmur that was both terrifying and strangely hypnotic. I'm in here, Beta. Come see. My heart was a drum solo in my chest. I knew I shouldn't. Every instinct, every horror movie I'd ever seen, told me this was a terrible idea, but it was my mom's voice. What if she was hurt? What if she needed help? That propelled me forward. I reached the study door, my hand hovering over the wood. I could feel a strange vibration through it, a low hum that made my teeth ache. I pushed the door open. The room was pitch black. The earthy, decaying smell was overwhelming, thick and cloying. "Mom," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Are you in here?" For a moment, there was only silence, and then, from the deepest, darkest corner of the room, a shape began to move. It wasn't my mom. It was too tall, too thin. As my eyes adjusted, I saw it unfold itself from the corner like a spider. Then, the whisper came again, but this time it was right next to my ear. "I'm right here." I didn't even have time to scream. Something touched my shoulder. I glanced down. It was a hand, but it was wrong. The skin was gray and stretched, taut over the bones, with long yellowed fingernails that curled like claws. It was dry and cold, the hand of a corpse, a decaying thing that had been buried for 1,000 years. And as it squeezed my shoulder, its grip impossibly strong, I looked up and saw a face in the darkness. A face with my mother's eyes, but the rest was a nightmare of sunken cheeks and a gaping, silent mouth. That was the last thing I saw before the world went black. I woke up hours later in my own bed, the morning sun streaming through my window. My parents were home, making breakfast downstairs, the smell of pancakes filling the air. For a second, I thought it was all a dream, a horrible nightmare. Then I felt the searing pain on my shoulder, and when I looked in the mirror, I saw the 5 faint bruises, perfectly shaped like long, skeletal fingers. They never fully faded. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have a story of your own, I'd love to hear it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.